Okay, so this episode is already too fucking long. I don't have time for an intro. Yes, I'm dressed up. Yes, it's very funny. Let's move on. Okay, to start ourselves off, I'm going to be a little bit self-indulgent. I'm going to talk about all the stuff that I got, like, right and wrong with people's characters. Fuck. I'm going to talk about all the stuff I got right and wrong in terms of people's character arcs. We're going to start with McKay. Sadly, she did not get to do any of the stuff that she wanted to do, at least that we saw. By the end of this episode, she's still hanging out in the hospital with everyone else, and most likely went home to relax afterwards rather than get the day. It's pretty sad that she didn't get the night she wanted, but if we're being honest, I don't think anyone did. Except for Joy. She's immune to the Pitt propaganda. I think what this does with McKay is it displays the difficulty of the work-life balance in the Pitt. Looking at her, McKay really has it all together. Yes, she's had difficulties in the past and has difficulties now.
I need to get laid.
But generally, she's doing pretty good. But even she can't escape being overworked. Okay, I didn't have a lot of theories when it came to Dana. And I think that's the point of her. I just realized my ears are fully out. Do I look stupid? I think I look stupid. I don't think this helped, but you know what? Dana is the absolute backbone of this hospital. Of everyone here, she is the immalleable glue that sticks everything together. Maybe immalleable isn't the word I need. She definitely has her ups and downs. But at the end of the day, she has always and will always be going the extra mile with her job and with the people around her. And as an audience member, we need this kind of character. Like, imagine if we didn't have Dana. Not in terms of the plot or how the hospital would run, just in terms of our enjoyment as an audience. Imagine if our two biggest characters were Robbies. Two people making choices that spark Twitter wars and create controversies that are impossible to take a side on. This show would be fucking unwatchable. But Dana isn't written like that. I bet if there was a mandatory survey to every single person who has watched The Pitt to name their top 3 characters, Dana would be on every single list. Not that list. Because she is like the butter on a sandwich. She doesn't do much for the flavour, but take it away and you're just eating dry bread and cheese. If I was able to make theories about who she is and where her character's going, all with like a good chance of happening, we would have no anchor to latch on to in this show. Yes, I've talked about her in the past in terms of how she's grown from season 1 to now and how she's generally struggled in season 2, but at least while we have Robbie as our main character and a metric butt ton of other doctors making us go, why the hell did they do that? Dana is not that character, and I am forever grateful. For this last episode, she is backing off of Robbie and letting other people try and reach out to him. She's following up on a previous storyline and making sure that the rape kits they have in the hospital are getting sent off to the police. And she's trying one last time to see if baby Jane Doe will get a good home. She is doing her job. Woo! Alright, Whittaker is an interesting one. Like I kind of guessed, a lot of his stuff that's happened with him, the Amy thing, the shark thing, and his living situation, don't get wrapped up in this last episode. But like, it also does? Okay, so I think that this is going to be a bit of a theme when talking about a show that is structured like The Pitt. So I'm going to get this explanation out of the way right now. Now, I'm not an expert at this. I didn't get a PhD in screenwriting, so please bear with me. I'm just going to talk about the very basics so that we're all on the same page. With 98% of all TV dramas, there is the basic story structure a character can go through. Character A acts a certain way or holds certain beliefs that, over a period of time within the story, but also our time watching different episodes and seasons, then, generally through the influence of others, they change. This is called a character arc. Someone will go from point A to point B over a period of time. And for basically all of these characters, specifically ones that are set in a world that is meant to be similar to our own, this change will occur at a natural pace. Meaning a pace that is realistic and reflects what you might see in real life. Let's say you make a friend at work or at class or wherever you go to make friends, and that person has the nasty habit of biting their nails. I do it too, don't worry about it. And every time they do, you say, hey, please stop, I don't like that. But this person has been biting their nails for a long time. At this point, it's not even a thought to them. It could take a few days to a few years for this person to break their habit, depending on many things in the world. It would not take 15 hours. 98% of TV shows have the luxury of being able to skip time pretty easily. Let's say you have character A in a scene and they have their head shaved, and then you skip to a different scene and character A's hair is now down to the shoulders. The audience now knows that enough time has passed for that hair to grow. And in that time, we can infer natural changes within the character. Maybe in that first scene again, character A decided to start knitting a scarf, and in the second scene, that scarf is not even a square. We can then infer from the length of the scarf and the length of the time they did not actually do much knitting. All without having to say a thing. There's no narrator that came up and said, they haven't done much knitting. Or character A didn't turn to the audience and been like, I haven't done much knitting. You know, we don't need to be told this. We can see it happening, despite the fact time has been skipped. We haven't seen it, but we know it. Does this make sense? As much as it is an interesting selling point and a fun concept, the whole 15 episodes, one shift thing that the Pitt does means that the writers need to do fucking backflips and be able to trust the audience to know what was happening before a season and after a season, just from what we see in the one day of these characters' lives. And with all that being said, we now have the power to infer what happens with Whittaker after this season, as well as the rest of the characters. With the 3 parts of Whittaker's story that I brought up, Amy, the shark, Santos, I think we're at 3 different stages of a journey. With Shark, if there even is a thing, and I'm not looking into this too closely, we've gotten a sprinkling of maybe Whittaker is more uncomfortable with him than other people. And this could mean many things. It could be personal, it could be professional, it could be from experience, it could be imagined. The main thing here is that there's nothing really to build off of. It is one scene, there's no dialogue, it's just a moment, and then that moment is gone. So I have no reason to assume that anything is going to happen between now and season 3. I'm not saying nothing will happen, but there's nothing to tell me that something's gonna happen. I'm fucking so bad at talking. It's like, back to the scenario with the shaved hair and the knitting and stuff. It's like if that first scene, there was no knitting. It was just a person with a shaved head, and then in the second scene, suddenly, they've tried knitting, and it's like, where'd the knitting come from? It's that kind of thing. You know, there's nothing, this one moment with Whittaker and Shark is not enough to be like, there's something's gonna happen. But if something does happen, we can then go back to this point and be like, okay, I see what you're doing there. You're maybe sprinkling something in. He doesn't like buff guys. So obviously he doesn't like Shark. Like, you know, it could be anything. He doesn't like people who like bones. I don't know. We don't have enough information, but it could be something, but it might be nothing. I don't need to keep talking about this. I'm gonna move on. Then with Amy, I think we've gotten like 75% of this storyline. I'm pretty certain we're not gonna see or hear much of Amy in season 3, if anything. We were given the problem, Robbie offered some advice and a pseudo-solution, and Whittaker seemed to listen. In that, he didn't become super defensive about his invasive need to be good to other people. But we also see Whittaker's side of things, how he enjoys being on the farm, it's keeping him healthy, and he has a good relationship with Amy and the baby. So obviously he's not going to cut them out of his life completely. But it's somewhat reasonable to assume that he's now going to take some time for himself, as Robbie suggested. But the thing is, I don't think his overall people-pleaser energy has been solved. Sure, it seems like he's going to step away from the farm, but he's also committed to house-sitting for Robbie. So I don't think the core issue has been addressed yet. At least not enough for him to have been completely changed by season 3. Like with science shit, we're gonna need a couple more data points for us to correctly triangulate the trajectory of his character arc. I know I look stupid, okay? Fuck off. And finally, with Santos, I think they're just going to keep living together. Even though there's never been a conclusive conversation about it, I think they've both expressed their desires to stay with each other enough. And more importantly, they've seen each other express their desires to stay with each other. So if we start next season and they're not living together, I think that's going to be more of a question of why than oh, of course, we can figure out ourselves. By the end of last season, they were not getting along. So yeah, we've got a lot of little bits and pieces with him. I think we're just starting. I really didn't mean to talk about Whittaker for that long, but in my defense, I wanted to. Okay, moving swiftly onto Langdon. I have nothing to say about Langdon. Okay, no, that's not fair. I just went on like a 20-minute rant about inferring stuff about characters. I can do better than this. Alright, so 2 major things happened with him. We very nearly saw Lang Dick, and 2, he goes to visit the patient with the flesh-eating bacteria on her leg that he missed way back in episode 3 or whatever to make sure that she's okay. Ooh, he also has a big talk with Robbie. The thing is with Langdon, I think his character is more linked with other people than it is a solo thing. A part of his journey is relearning his confidence, and he does that. Enough to start fucking yelling at Robbie.
How can any of us live up to your standards if you can't even do it?
His whole conversation with Robbie happens because he's managed to get back into the thrum of things. And in terms of an arc, I think this was kind of it. It's pretty cut and dry. Now, there's obviously some unfinished business with Robbie and especially Santos, but that was never going to get sorted out in one season, I don't think. If I'm being honest, I think I have said all that I need to say about Langdon. He's got some shit going on with his wife, maybe, but maybe not. I just, there's a lot of theories around him, but none that I'm like, I like his character, but he's doing nothing for me. New Yuri just dropped. New Yuri just dropped. Everyone get aboard the Mentos train. Choo choo, bitch. I'm joking. I don't think that they should kiss. It is good enough for me that these two have found a friendship with each other. Okay, but seriously, I am so happy that these two actually hung out together. I know I talked about the possibility of it happening a couple times in the past few episodes, but if I'm being honest with myself, I didn't actually think it was gonna happen. I don't know why, really. They've had a few scenes over the past couple seasons where they've bantered and gotten along, but it never felt like there was a huge focus on it. For me, these two feel like 2 puzzle pieces that fit together but are from completely different pictures. But I mean, the fact that they watched the fireworks together and did karaoke, fucking iconic. I hope they get married. And just to talk about them individually, I'm quite happy with the scene with Langdon and Mel and how they got along and chatted about their days, but I think it makes a ton of sense that it didn't go much further than that. I mean, Langdon has a full family to get back to, and as much as he's dedicated to his job and staying late with that, I think it's a good thing that he's not willing to spend the extra time with his co-workers. If I was his wife, I'd be pissed off as well. Plus, on Mel's side, I think that she still really sees Langdon as a superior, because, I mean, he is, and he's someone to look up to for her. I've just realised the juiciness of these two being friends and having Langdon as, like, important people in both of their lives, but for completely different reasons. How did I just realise that? I'm so stupid. That's juicy. That is very juicy. But yeah, she sees Langdon as someone to look up to, even though they have this moment where Mel kind of helps him get back up on his feet.
You would have caught the collapsed lung.
This feels more similar to that scene with Robbie and Whittaker at the end of season 1, where Whittaker helps Robbie get back up, which isn't a great example of, like, a platonic friendship. They're more mentor-mentee to me, rather than even just friends. And Mel needs someone who is an equal to her. She doesn't quite have that with Becca because she can't stop looking at her as someone who needs to be looked after, because she's been looking after her, for a while. I don't know how long, but for at least plus 5 years, probably, at least. Assuming they were both adults when their parents died. And then with Langdon, that's someone who she needs to seek approval from. Whereas Santos, that is bestie material right there. Someone who Mel doesn't have to look after, but also doesn't have to be perfect for. Then with Santos, as much as I would never condone drinking to escape your feelings, if your feelings are causing you to isolate and steal knives from your work, drink away. I am very proud of her for recognizing that she shouldn't go home alone after a day like today and reaching out to someone. Even if it isn't Whittaker. And even if it was just like a subconscious thing and it was more of a response for Mel feeling very down for having to do another deposition. Ouchies. She still made that step and we are very happy for her. Listen, I know I'm wearing it wrong. I could tell you that from a million miles away. I'm opening it now. I sent a picture of this to my girlfriend, who's the one who gave me this stuff, and I'm telling you right now, if I open this message from her, it's gonna say, you're fucking wearing that wrong. Ready? Never mind. She said noise. So fuck you guys. This is correct. These are glasses, by the way. These are meant to have glass in them, but she didn't take the glass. She just took the frame. Do I look cool? Okay, Javadi, in this episode, she probably has, like, the most satisfying ending. We start with her talking to Whittaker about what she's going to do, and the fact that she has no idea what she's going to do. These are falling down my face. A conversation in which he suggests that she sticks close to her passions around mental health. A passion I don't think she even realized she had.
I wouldn't call it a passion. I would call it like a...
Wait a minute.
Oh my God.
We continue onto a conversation with Robbie, who actually compliments her TikToks. And when she asks what he thinks about her going into emergency psychiatry, he's just like, you can do whatever you want, bitch. You're great. That's what he says. Sometimes he can say the perfect thing. And then we end with her watching the fireworks and having a little cuddle with her old friend, Dr. McKay. Aww. What a great day she's had. Kind of. She nearly killed that lady, but don't worry about it. I think there's nothing much to say apart from the fact that this is the most cohesive storyline in this season, probably. From setting up the problem, way back in season 1 as well, mind you, of Javadi being unsure about what she's gonna do, to hinting towards her attitude around mental health, and setting up a potential problem that could come with it.
Although I think the dad might be, okay, the mom's gonna be so mean.
Yeah. Like, I cannot imagine that Dr. Shamsi is gonna like the idea of her daughter going into emergency psychiatry. But even just from a writing perspective, I think this path for her is a fantastic choice. Because even when Javadi has finished her time in the ED, she could very much keep working there just as a psychologist. Psychiatrist? Mind doctor. What Caleb Jefferson does. I think that's what he does. He's a therapist of some sort. So Javadi's storyline gets 2 thumbs up from me. It's classic. It's classy. It's, it's good. It's just it's good. It's a good job. Well done, guys. And it's not like breaking the sort of realism horniness that these writers have. Cut that. Okay, moving on to the more complicated stories. Al-Hashimi. I first of all need to say, yes, I got it wrong. I think in episode 13, I made the assumption that this whole thing going on with her, with her seizures, started recently because of what Mohan said, when actually it started when she was fucking 5 and has only just sort of recently made a comeback. I don't think that's any fault of my own. I made my best guess. Leave me alone. I don't get it right all the time. Now, I know that there's a whole joke about the seizures coming back because she worked one day with Robbie, but listen, I'm gonna be a wet blanket. There's no fucking way that that's what happened. She got her first seizure at the end of episode 1. If Robbie was able to bring back a dormant mental issue after 50 minutes of meeting someone, that would be more impressive than anything. But anyway, the how isn't really important. What I do find interesting is how this information recontextualizes Al-Hashimi's attitude for this past season, namely with her decision to try and get 2 attendings on the floor. Now, at the time, to Robbie, and I'm gonna say to us, this suggestion was taken as something that reflects on Robbie. She wants to get 2 attendings because Robbie's being overwhelmed and she wants some sort of safety net. But in actuality, it's a safety net for her, and she was thinking about herself. It was never about Robbie, it was about her, which is a great way of showing that no matter how distant Robbie may seem to the audience, a la Toilet Time, he's still, like, our main character. But now we have both sides of their story, which makes their argument in the latter half of the episode way more difficult to digest. These two really hash it out over whether or not Al-Hashimi is fit to work in the ED. Al-Hashimi tries to advocate for the 2 attending solution that the higher-ups have also approved her for, but Robbie points out the inevitability that she will probably find herself with, like, a high-risk trauma case eventually, and she could have a seizure during that. She says that it's not his call to make, but he replies that it's still technically his emergency room, therefore it is his call. And if I'm being honest here, I don't know whose side I'm on. There are flaws to Robbie's argument. Him pointing out the problems that having a second attending won't solve is kind of moot when he doesn't even have a second attending in the first place. When he's caught up in an emergency and there's a second one coming in, what does he do? He fucking struggles, okay? It would be no different for her. Or, you know, it's either Hashimi goes and helps with the second trauma, or this other attending does both. That's how it was in season 1. When it got way too difficult, they called in backup. But for that first season, it was only him, and there would be several cases coming in, and he'd have to jump between them all the time. So his argument that this would happen is like, yeah, it's always, I'm making no sense. It's a stupid argument, Robbie. But he's also right that having Al-Hashimi run the ED while actively having seizures runs a risk to patients. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't solutions. The 2 attending thing would seem to be pretty good, plus there's medications and surgeries that she mentions, but it is a question of how long those medications or surgeries would take to be successful. So it's a very difficult scene, and I won't deny that Robbie is harsh, but I think even Al-Hashimi sees his point at the end of the day. When she tries to drive home, she stops and starts crying, which I think was mostly self-doubt brought on by Robbie, but I think it's also reasonable self-doubt. She could just have a seizure and crash the car. That is a possibility now. She has been cleared for her driver's license, but that was before she had 4 seizures in one day. I think the scene of her crying comes from the stress of the day, but also the realization that Robbie might be right, and she might not be able to keep doing her job if a solution isn't found. Side note, I know that there was a deleted scene where Al-Hashimi calls her ex-husband and starts crying after he asks if she's okay, which really recontextualizes this whole scene as more of a stress cry after being comforted. But since that scene got deleted, I'm not thinking about it in that way. If the writers or directors or editors wanted me to think of this scene as I'm so sad, I just need someone to be nice to me, that kind of thing, then they should have kept that scene in. Otherwise, I did not get that vibe at all. I really was like, oh, she's crying because fuck, she can't drive, you know? Alright. We're moving on to the big one. Now, I know that last week I gave, like, a checklist of shit I wanted to happen this episode, and those didn't happen. And I hate to backpedal, but I was kind of fine with the ending. I don't know. It feels too soon to tell, really. Oh, do you hear that? Do it again. Honestly, I don't think we're gonna feel the impact of this being her last season, probably, until season 3 is out. Because, I mean, that's the issue. Her ending would be fine if there was gonna be more. Her ending feels more similar to, like, Whitaker or maybe Santos or something, where it's like, okay, yeah, we've got some building blocks, but there's gonna be more, you know? But even Al-Hashimi's ending felt more like an ending. I'd be more okay with Al-Hashmi never coming back. No, wait, no. I love her, I do love her. But I mean, like, story-wise, it would be like, yeah, and then, I mean, it would kind of suck if it was like, then she could never work again because she has this thing in her brain. That's very rough. But at least it's something. Mohan's got fucking nothing. It's fine. Go back to the script. This feels like the creators have really shot themselves with a foot by not keeping a lid on the fact that Supriya's not going to be here next season. Because this whole time I've been kind of expecting, or at the very least hoping, that there'd be a good ending to her story. But since there was nothing, I was up here. I know I said to keep a low expectation, but I was up here, and I can't deny it. And I got given this. Not this, not down, just lying there. But I was like, just give me a bit. Give me something. We got this. Now, she did get a bit of closure with Robbie. It was more of a, we will never see eye to eye, but that's fine kind of thing, which I didn't love. I mean, it was a good scene. I didn't hate the scene, but just as a concept, I don't love the idea that that's where their relationship ends, is them just being like, well, this is it, which also feels like it doesn't make sense, because this feels like this happened in their relationship just because Robbie was having a bad several months. Obviously, it wasn't just the one day, but like, it feels like it's fixable with a little bit of time, / when he comes back from sabbatical. But we don't see that happening. Like, it's not set up in any way, shape, or form, as far as I can tell, unless I'm reading the scene wrong. Maybe I am. I don't know. It's gonna be so weird not having Mohan here next season. Even Dr. Collins got more of a goodbye with Robbie telling her to go home and look after herself. But I don't even think they knew that Dr. Collins wasn't coming back in season 2. So, like, how did this happen? If I was a better researcher, this is the point where I'd cut to, like, another shot and I'd be like, I'll tell you why this happens. But I don't know. I don't know why this happened. I don't know why this ending has been so shit for her. The only reason I can go to is, like, racism. And I hate that because that's such a stupid reason. It's not a good I mean, obviously it's not a good reason, but it's also just, like, a boring reason. It's like, oh, sorry, you didn't want to have her be in this show because you're racist or sexist or something like that. It's just like, okay. It's not because anything. Even just like, oh, the scheduling didn't work out. I'm pretty sure it's not that. I think I read somewhere that Supriya is available. It's fine. It's fine. There's even an interview with the creator of the Pitt, Scott Gemmell, Scott, where an interviewer asks him about the Mohan situation, and it is so funny to me. Truly this interviewer feels like they just got confused by his first answer, which, like, he talks a bit about, like, oh, it was a story-driven decision, and, stuff moves around in the pit, and it's all different, blah, 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 all this stuff happens, so, she was gonna have to leave because she was gonna go do her thing, like, go do her job thing that she doesn't have yet. And then the interviewer's like, yeah, but you've said that season 3 is gonna take place 4 months after this season, which would mean that Mohan's still in the hospital, so why isn't she appearing next season? And he's just like, it's her day off. I'm sorry. The story-driven decision is that it's her day off? I mean, maybe they can make that work. Maybe they can make it work. Maybe she will appear for a bit. Maybe she'll come back for a sec, like for the last few episodes, Avengers Endgame style, through the fucking portals. But you're not doing yourself any favors by holding this back on us. Like, you either gotta fucking tell us everything, be like, she's not gonna be in it as much, she's only gonna be in a few episodes. That would be fine. That would be like, ooh, interesting. Why is she only coming in for a few episodes? What's going on? Or you don't tell us, you wait either a few months or until the fucking season comes out. Maybe not that long, that feels a bit insane. But you know what I mean? I just don't think they've done a good job. And if they have some master plan in place, They're doing a shit job at executing it if this is the reaction you're getting. From me, from fucking the entire internet, and this is not just a case of we're misunderstanding the situation. I have tried to look at it from the bright side. I have tried my best to give them the fucking a penny of... I can't remember. I've tried to give them all the grace I have, but this is just... It's getting ridiculous. It's genuinely getting ridiculous. Listen, I know this isn't a drama channel. I don't want to pile on to the accusations all these writers and creators and actors have already had. I cannot imagine what it's like to be Supriya Ganesh right now. I would be shitting myself. Or I'd be very vindicated, depending on the situation. But it's just... I don't know what else to think about this. My thoughts of her character story are like she is, just in this liminal space until season 3 comes out. That is like its only saving grace, and that is an insane amount of time to wait before you can make a decision about whether a entire character arc is good or not. I don't know. Maybe I'll do a follow-up at some point with more thoughts and more cohesive thinking. But just right now, this is it. This is me. This is the truth. I don't know what the fuck is happening over here. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We're gonna talk about Robbie next. I'm gonna keep my thoughts to 2 scenes to try and make this section as short as possible because this video is so fucking long. First off, we have this whole sequence with the pregnant woman and Abbott. This moment is exactly what Abbott paints it as. This patient is validating Robbie's necessity in the ER, which I know people find annoying. I think people are worried that Robbie already feels too self-important and that the whole Pitt would just crash without him there. But I don't think that's the fucking point of this scene. I'm not gonna get mad. People can have their opinions. It's fine. Abbott isn't standing here saying, "Don't leave. We'll never survive without you." He's saying, "Go take a break, but please come back." In this instance, this is about Robbie. Not about him as an attending, and not about how the Pitt will function, but him as a human being with a soul and thoughts, and as a person, not as a boss. This is about Robbie finding his purpose in life again. In these moments after the baby and the mother both live, he gets so emotional because he's just remembered or is reliving the reasons why most people go into healthcare in the first place, because if they didn't, then people might die. And in this case, apparently, people would die. I'm not going to comment on if the mother would have died if he was there or not. I've truly no idea, but that's what Abbott says, and I trust that man with some things. But it's tough for him because he's still focused on the people that he never managed to save, probably mostly Adamson. But this is what a dysfunctional brain will do to you. It creates these 2 colliding realities, one that everyone else is telling him about, and that he does know that if he wasn't there, people would lose their lives and people would die. But there's this other part of him that knows that people are just going to keep dying and he can't do anything about it. They don't fucking fit within each other, and it is causing stress in his brain. I'm saying this like I know what I'm talking about, by the way. I don't. Don't take this as kosher. Don't go talk to a therapist or something. But that's what I'm pretty sure his inner conflict is that's why he's so back and forth about everything, is because he's like, I do an important job here and I need to make sure people are okay, to nothing I do fucking matters, everyone dies, whatever the fuck. You know, that's the issue. And Abbott proposes basically the only solution to this, which is very simply, take a fucking break. You know, sometimes you just can't, like, talk or think your way out of something. You just need to go away and not think about it for a little while, come back refreshed, and life will seem like it's dying a little bit less. And Robbie doesn't quite seem like he's there for that yet, until we get to this last scene with him, which, surprisingly, is not him driving away on his motorbike, but instead is him with the baby Jane Doe. she came back. For me, this scene is like the push of a domino that starts a run that everyone's been laying out the dominoes, right? Everyone's been going like, hey, don't kill yourself. Hey, don't kill yourself. Hey, chill out. And the baby scene is the push, which ends with him not killing himself. As much as he's had all these people around him giving him all this advice and talking to him and trying to get him to not kill himself, I think this talk he has with this baby and the way that he connects with her, a la having a mother that abandoned them, and saying everything he can to comfort her, which in turn is stuff that he once said to him that would comfort him if he was a baby. And when he, when he was a kid, he's saying what I imagine he wished people had said to him when he was a kid, and how he finds comfort in these words of you will be okay, you will find love, you will find friends, and he needs to hear them again. So he says them to this baby he is pretending is him. And it's it's the perfect way of showing where his head ends up at the end of this season, I think. He's not okay, but by helping this baby, he is helping himself and telling himself that it will be okay. I think that this is a great message to end this season on. Because as much as you can have everyone around you being like, this is what you need to do this, and then you'll feel better, at the end of the day, you're the person who has to make the change. You have to be the person to go, I'm going to go to therapy, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm going to take a shower, or whatever the fuck. You can't have people just tell you it and tell you it and tell you it, and then suddenly it'll have been done. You need to do it. Robbie needs to know that it'll be okay, and he needs to tell himself, whoa, when'd you stop recording? Battery exhausted. It's like a lead a horse to water situation, except if you were like Dana or Abbott or something, and then the horse was Robbie, and the water was like therapy. So no, we don't get to see if he leaves his bike, if he goes on the sabbatical, or if he takes up Abbott on going on that cruise. But I don't think that matters. It's like the opposite of what's happening with Whittaker. We see him acknowledge the problem and recognize why people are worried about him, but he does nothing to help solve it so far. Whereas Robbie doesn't acknowledge the problem necessarily, but he does take the steps to help himself. I think that makes sense. So, overall, how was this season? It was different. I don't know, it's a really hard question, because if I'm being honest, I think it kind of got ruined by, like, the internet. Not like this series. I mean, the way that people on the internet were reacting to, all the stuff that's been happening about Robbie's arc and all this shit. There was so much Twitter and TikTok and fucking Tumblr drama. And I don't want to invalidate these people's feelings and what they thought about the show, but, I'm just trying to enjoy it. And see people trash it morally is like it's a little disheartening. Now, maybe I'm fully wrong and the creators of the Pitt need to all burn in hell, but for the time being, I'm going to assume that my views are valid, because this is my channel and I can say what I want. So I'm gonna kind of ignore all of this online shit. I liked this season. I'm really happy with the fireworks scene at the end. I'm fucking called it. It was so fun to see it actually happen, because I called it for a reason. It feels like a great way to end off this season specifically. We didn't see the roof for the whole time, and it was this big player in the last season, and so using it as this tool for showing the whole crew together, more or less the whole crew together, was just like a lovely moment, But this season just feels so different from season 1. I'm currently rewatching season 1 with my parents, because they've never seen it before, and the difference in just like how people act and feel is insane, and just the vibes are completely different, especially you know, all before the Pitt Fest shooting and even just before Dana gets punched. From episodes like 9 to 15 of season 1, it just slowly starts to deteriorate. And then we get the end result of that in season 2. So of course, it's going to be different. It's a really nice change from the usual, you know, most like medical dramas where they really try and stay the same kind of the whole time, at least in terms of vibes. It's very episodic. It's very, here's a patient, here's the problem, it's going to last an episode. The characters don't necessarily change a whole lot, and if they do, it's like a big thing, you know. But in this, they're rolling with the punches that they have thrown themselves. The Pitt Fest shooting and just everything that happened in season 1 had its consequences. And of course, things are going to be different in season 2. Because, you know, it's only 10 months after. Everyone in the pit, more or less, apart from the newbies, remember what happened. It was a big thing for them to go through, so I'm really happy to see that it's still affecting them in just a very subtle way that's just like, it's just, the vibe is different. The vibe is Dana's acting different, Robbie's acting different. You know, just everyone's a bit like, a bit sadder. And I mean, maybe, like, after a few weeks or a few months of thoughts, I'm gonna realize, actually, I prefer season 1 just because of liking that vibe a bit more. So far, I'm maybe on that train, but I might want to rewatch to figure out. But, like, that doesn't mean that season 2 was bad. I think it's a great continuation and a good setup as well for season 3, and it's making me excited to see more. I mean, okay, the whole Mohan situation definitely feels like a misstep, at least for now. Again, maybe they'll bring it back, but like, But that's one thing out of the whole show that I'm kind of like, maybe they didn't do this as well as they could have. I don't think that that should rest against the writers and the creators for the rest of the entire show. You know, that's sucks. And like, I've just missed this kind of television. This once a year, more than 6 fucking episodes, just a lovely constant that you get. You can just tune in. We really don't have a lot of that in terms of drama TV right now. You know, there's that in reality TV and other shows and stuff like that. But in terms of just good drama, you don't, especially new stuff, you don't get a lot of new stuff. There's still, you know, there's still Grey's Anatomy, there's still like Criminal Minds and shit like that. But The Pitt is like one of the few shows that's come out recently that has gone by this method of being a TV show. And I've missed it so much. And you know, maybe I'm giving them a bit more grace than I would because I don't want the fucking creators or whoever calls the shots to go, the people aren't liking it, we need to pull the plug, no one likes these types of TV shows anymore. And it's like, that's not the problem. That's not the problem. It's a small writing hiccup. Hopefully it's nothing more. Racism. But yeah, anyway, the Mohan thing is, it's odd, but hopefully it's not standard. Hopefully they've learned to the very least handle it better online and with the audience, just to sort of understand how an online audience thinks nowadays. Because as much as TV has changed, we have changed as viewers as well, and this might just be a small miscommunication between the 2 points. I've really went off script. So even if you're suspicious of some of the behind the scenes, or you dislike some of the choices they've made story-wise, there's no denying that this show plays an important role in fighting the half-assed, money-grabbing projects that are all over the place right now. Also, it was a fantastic reveal that Digby got the badge and the CPR doll and is making a run for it. It's 10 out of 10. I'm still laughing about it now. So, that was it for this series of mine. It was fun, if a little stressful. It's a lot of work to do. I think starting off my YouTube channel with 20 to 30 minute reviews coming out twice a week was a stupid place to start. But hey, I did it. I hope you all enjoyed the series. I know that I enjoyed it, and I'm very appreciative of all the nice comments and support generally across all the platforms. I'm gonna take this off. It's really stupid because I mostly made these videos to save my poor friends and family for having to listen to my rants about this show. So instead, I put it on the internet forever. Also, I did it for college. Plot twist, it was all a school project. Don't you feel stupid? Ugh, but I mean, if I'm being honest, this holds no bearing on the series. I think it's just a little funny. But yeah, I'm in my last couple of years of college, so I probably won't be posting much of anything until after the summer. But after that, who knows? I think I'd like to try my hand in these, sorry. I'd like to try my hand in more, like, one-off videos, like, longer than 20 to 30 minutes, but singular. So keep an eye out for that if you like. Generally, I don't really know where my life is going, so next year, when season 3 of The Pitt comes out, I would definitely like to keep doing this, but I don't really know what I'll be doing. So who knows, but definitely if I can, I will. If you want to keep up with me outside of YouTube, there's a link tree with, like, other social media. But if I'm going to be honest with you, the one I use most is probably Letterboxd. So, sorry about that. I think that's everything. Apologies for the long-ass video, but it's the finale, so. Also sorry for almost definitely posting this late. It's a long video, which means it's going to take even longer editing, and I'm always very close. It's hard. Listen, it's hard. Maybe I'll be back. Or I'll forget that this even existed, and this channel will turn to dust, and you'll never hear or see from me again. Who knows? Thanks for watching. Tell me all your thoughts on the series and the season finale. I'd love to hear them. It's always interesting to talk to people about this. And I will potentially see you later. Bye-bye.